Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Waterlea Residents Group Information Evening. For those who don't know me, my name is Eugenie Buchan, and I'm the Community Marketing Manager at Waterlea. So tonight will be divided into two parts. We have Nathan from our development team, who will provide a brief update on our construction progress and other key milestones. We will then pass on to Penny Austin, our Sustainability Manager, who will take you through a bit of background on the Residents Group, the purpose and activities of the Residents Group, and an example of a Residents Group in one of our Stockland communities in WA. We'll then finish off with a short Q&A in the back half of the broadcast. For those who would like to submit a question during the webinar, in the top right-hand corner of your browser or Teams app, so depending on how you're accessing tonight's broadcast, you should see a little speech bubble box, and that enables you to submit questions during the broadcast. Just some general housekeeping before we kick off. This webinar will be recorded and circulated post the event if there are any questions submitted this evening that we run out of time to answer. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Nathan, our Development Manager, who will give you an update on all things Waterlea. Over to you, Nath.
Fantastic, thanks Eugenie. So for those of you who don't know me or haven't met me at our Waterlea resident events, my name's Nathan. I'm the Development Manager on Waterlea. Tonight I'll give you a brief update on sort of the construction and development status as to where we're currently at and what we're doing and what we anticipate doing over the course of the coming months and year. And I'll also give you a bit of an update on sort of our discussions with council on the wider development that they're doing surrounding Waterlea. So to date, we recently hit a construction milestone of 102 homes being complete. So the first 100 homes, which was fantastic to get to that milestone. Yeah, that sort of means we're well and truly past the 50% mark of completion for the project. You would see that most of your neighbours would have been moved into their homes by now. So yeah, the community really has come to life with the first 100 homes complete and so many families now calling Waterlea home. From a landscaping perspective, you would see that we finished the entry statement at the latter part of last year, and then we're progressively completing all the street trees and landscaping as we build out the homes. Another milestone that we achieved, which we ideally would have loved to have celebrated with the community, was the completion of our central green. So that park is now complete and accessible for everyone to use. Now, hopefully, when we get back to some normal times and a level of normality, we'll host an event out there to really celebrate the opening of that park. And then from a wider landscaping perspective, we've had some really good traction. So obviously the homestead was complete sort of mid last year. The southern parklands were completed at a similar time frame by council. But then to the west of the site, in front of stage 4C, which is sort of that top left corner, the homes highlighted in blue on that master plan that you'd see on the screen. To the west of them, council has recently started the adventure play area, which is a fantastic milestone for the wider development and what's to come. They're anticipating completion of that. I was actually on the phone to them this afternoon, and they're still anticipating for completion towards the back end of the year. So fingers crossed that can stay on track. It has been quite a lot of wet weather, and obviously with the lockdown, there's limited construction that's occurring, but they're still confident of either hitting that program or not being too far behind. So that'll be really great for everyone living in Waterlea once that opens up as well. And then beyond that, to the north of the site, where there's going to be obviously quite a lot of landscaping, the big wetlands, open kickabout play areas, and an additional playground as well. Council is still going through the design phase of that. It's quite a big collaboration with Melbourne Water on that one, and so there's a little bit of time for that one to be finalised, but they're still expecting sort of design finalisation later this year to early next year, and then getting started not too far after that. So I expect that sort of earlier part of next year you'll start to see machines on and construction on site. Fingers crossed. But that's a bit of an update as to the construction status. We're still building out all the homes. We've got all but 10 or 15 homes under construction at the moment, and we'd like to say that we're going to commence those final homes towards the back end of this year, and I anticipate that towards the back end of next year we'll be finished construction and fully built out at Waterlea. So that's a bit of an update for you. I'll now pass on to Penny.
Hi everyone, my name's Penny and I'm the Sustainability Manager for Communities at Stockland. Lovely to join you this evening, unfortunately not in person, but hopefully next time. Today I'm really just here to give you a little bit of an update on Waterlea as a Green Star community and what our commitments are around that. For those of you that are not aware, Waterlea has achieved a 6-star Green Star Communities rating with the Green Building Council of Australia. And what that rating means is it's really recognising leading design excellence across a wide range of measures, including environmental, economic and social sustainability. There's a number of credits that we need to achieve under this 6-star Green Star commitment. And one of them is actually around the commitment that we will assist residents of Waterlea with the establishment and the meeting of a community group. So I'll just go to the next slide and just explain a little bit more about what's required in terms of the charter for the community group. So the group itself, it doesn't need to be a legal entity, but it just needs to have a charter and an operating structure with a vision, and a meeting process and also a process for registering and informing members. So what we're hoping is we know that residents of Waterlea are really passionate about their community. So we're hoping that you could potentially put your hand up to become a member of this community group. And the only commitments are that the group meet bi-monthly and keep minutes of meetings. And Stockland, myself, Nathan and Eugenie will be here to support the group, particularly during that first year while you get established with the resident group. So with that resident group, I just thought that I would share an example of a resident group that we've set up at another community. This is actually one that is across in Western Australia at a community called Waterlea. And I might just go to the next slide. So Waterlea is a residential community just south of Perth, near Coburn. And the residents there were very passionate about their community, and what started as a culture club is what they called it. It was chaired and coordinated by 5 members of the community with support from Stockland. And the Treeby Community Association, as it became known, did eventually form an incorporated group and received public liability insurance under the council. And the main reason that they did go down that path was so that they could apply for grants towards upgrades and events, which is very handy. The group has grown substantially. It's been operating now for approximately 3 years, and they now have 3 subgroups. They have a neighbourhood watch safety group. They have an events group who are very busy organising lots of events such as Friday night meets and food markets, movie nights and the like. And they also have a community garden group there. So they worked very closely with Council and Stockland to develop a community garden, and that is now fully run by the association. In terms of their communication to residents and to the broader community, they maintain a website, just a fairly simple website page, and they also have a Facebook page. And one of the things they've more recently done, which is really nice from a sustainability point of view, but also to help the broader community, is they've established a Buy Nothing page where people can swap and sell items. So you've probably seen similar ones on Facebook, Buy, Swap and Sell in your local community. Well, they have their own as well. I have just put a link there, so you're welcome to go and have a bit of a look a bit more about on their Facebook page. So I'll just go to the next slide, please. So a few things that I just wanted to chat about in terms of next steps for the community group is really around what do Waterlea residents see as the main function of the group. And this is really something for the group to decide, but it could be around things like discussing programs and events to benefit residents, discussing community issues and solutions, and also discussing opportunities to work with council and also tap into any existing programs and resources. And then in terms of the types of programs that you would like to see at Waterlea, that's really up for discussion for the first group meeting, which we will post this event. We will send out some more information about how you can register your interest. But it could be things around community garden facilitation, looking at regular classes, whether it be cooking, gardening, crafts, kids activities. It could also link into school holiday activations if that's of interest. And then if there's particular focus areas around health and fitness, such as yoga, outdoor fitness, park run or walking groups, that's also things that Stockland and also the group can assist with setting up. And then obviously more the family fun events such as the movie nights, which you might have already experienced at Waterlea, Easter egg hunts, Christmas, Halloween, those kind of things. And then smaller, more intimate events such as meet your neighbour events, which you could potentially host at the homestead or on site. So that's just to give you a little bit of an idea of what the resident group would potentially be looking at and also talking about in terms of programs. So I think I'll just hand back to you, Jenny, just if there's any questions that anybody would like to ask, and she can advise of next steps in terms of what will happen after this information session.
Thanks, Penny. So I thought we would do a bit of a live Q&A now. So I've seen a few questions come through and we did get a few questions via the EDM that we sent out last week. So there's a few development questions. So I thought we would cover them off with Nathan first and then we can flick to any residents group related questions for Penny. Okay, question one. So currently most residents park in the parking bays instead of the garages. This may impact visitor parking when lockdown is lifted. What can we do about this, Nath?
Great, thanks, Eugenie. So look, when it comes to parking, obviously the master plan was complete quite a long time ago, and we've obviously built all the road infrastructure. So our ability to introduce new car spaces, unfortunately, is not something that we're able to implement. What we would encourage is for you to be speaking with your neighbours, I guess, politely, and asking people not to park in illegal parking areas. When it comes to, I guess, the actual parking bays outside of your homes, they are public use, and I guess it's free use for anyone within the community to utilise. So there are going to be parking limitations. That is unfortunately one of the characteristics of living in a medium density community, but we obviously have provided sufficient parking with garages. Most homes, if not all homes, have double car garages. There's only a few that have single car, and so that is quite a large provision and not something you typically see in a medium density community. So we did try and address it that way. We also have an over provision in terms of the number of visitor parking bays that that council would typically require. So we did try and make sure we achieved it. It's just a matter of, I guess, having thoughtful use of the spaces.
Awesome, thanks, Nath. Another development question for you. So on the master plan, what is the future residential area? So the grey area in the middle.
Great, so absolutely knew that question was going to come up. So that was slated for apartments. That was sort of always the premise behind the master plan. We obviously, discussed with a number of the customers early days, the original purchasers. There was obviously a lot of concern regarding apartments. We took that feedback on board. We also looked at the viability of whether we thought apartments were the right use in that particular space, and we determined internally at Stockland that we thought that answer was no. We also felt that there was a better outcome to be achieved by changing it from apartments to a more townhome use, similar to the rest of the development that you see around you. And so we put in a submission earlier this year to council to change that use from apartments to a more general townhome use. That has recently been approved, and then we just need a subsequent approval of the actual detail of those plans. But we are going ahead with a townhome use in that area.
Awesome, thanks, Nath. I think I've just got one more for you tonight. So another question submitted via our chat. Any idea why original design of the urban beach has been scrapped? We were looking forward to the anticipated Yabby farm.
Yep, so the urban beach is probably one of the more contentious ones. I guess, yeah, there was definitely some early media reports that spoke about an urban beach. That was never actually confirmed by council in terms of that exact use. I think council have definitely looked into it. It doesn't seem that they're going to be proceeding with call it an urban beach. There's definitely going to be an extension to the wetlands, and so there will be open waters and waterways through that area. As to the exact detail behind that, unfortunately, I'm not privy to the full designs, and I think council hasn't even fully resolved that yet. So we'll wait and see what comes out from council when they do resolve it, but I'm not expecting that it will be a beach.
Awesome, thank you. Now, Penny, one for you, which you've already sort of answered, but we can probably just touch on to reiterate to our guests tonight. What are some of the activities specific to Waterlea that the residents group could sort of participate in or help sort of get off the ground?
Thanks, Eugenie. I think it would be fantastic potentially at that first meeting that we set up with the resident group, that we have a really healthy discussion around that in terms of what the community and residents in particular are looking for. And that could potentially then be substantiated with a survey out to the broader community for those that maybe don't attend, just to get a really good idea of what is of interest. And look, it's really how long is a piece of string. There's so many different activities and opportunities that Stockland can help residents with. I think it really comes down to how much time people have. There are obviously some costs involved, and then what's feasible in terms of getting something working off the ground, and then how often things need to be run. So anything from yoga and fitness in the park to Heart Foundation walking groups are a fantastic example of something that's really easy to set up and manage. And then also the smaller and the larger events might need some further input with Stockland and Council. But they're definitely all topics that we can talk about at the first resident group meeting.
Great, thanks, Penny. Now, I think we might wrap it up there. I've seen lots of questions coming through on the Q&A tonight. So what I'll do is we'll compile those questions and provide answers to you and get those circulated over the next few days. Thank you so much for all your engagement. Really appreciate it. So I'd like to also thank everyone for attending this evening. And on behalf of Stockland, I wish you and your families really the best of health during this extremely difficult time. We look forward to hopefully being able to run some more in-person events at Waterlea in the not too distant future. We'll also be sending out some comms in the next few weeks for next steps on establishing this residents group. So keep an eye out on your emails for more information. And thanks again, everyone, and have a good night.